Mr. Fauci. Oh boy, he has been the topic of a lot of political attacks and political support. On one, people say he's just the person who tried to do the best with the information he had available. On the other hand, you have people like Elon Musk saying, prosecute Fauci, he lied to Congress. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But today, we've got to look at what the heck is this proximal origin paper that we just got some more insight on from Congress. Let's talk about that because it's a little eyebrow raising about what maybe goes on behind the scenes at our government and how potentially the media narratives get rigged in favor of whatever the government wants. And I know, there are 50% of you already punching your fists in the air going, come on, Kevin, you didn't already know that? Oh no, I did. But anyway, let me give you a quick little background. So first, it's really important to remember what gain of function is and how that compares to directed evolution. And I'm going to give a very elementary example. I'm not a biologist or whoever would work on this kind of stuff. I'm just going to do my best for you, okay? So my understanding is if you have a virus that can only infect bats, then it has not the function of infecting humans. Now, if you genetically engineer it, you take some, snippets of DNA and you insert it into that virus and you're like, here, protein fold, some kind of receptacle or whatever that can now land on a human and make them sick. That would be genetic engineering, gain of function style research, where basically you have genetically made a virus do something that it could not otherwise do. Okay? That's on one hand, gain of function research. On the other hand, there's this thing called directed evolution. And the theory here is that rather than taking DNA and trying to screw with the stuff, you're basically trying to let nature do that on its own, but you're doing that in like a rapid and successive manner to kind of get what you want naturally, quote unquote, naturally. So here's an example. Let's say you take a naturally occurring coronavirus that only infects monkeys and not humans, and then you infect 5 monkeys with it. Now, which of the monkeys is the sickest? Which has the strongest form of the virus potentially? Okay, take that monkey and make it infect 5 more. Repeat this experiment 100 times. Now you're left 100 times down that row with the sickest compounded with the sickest compounded with the sickest compounded with the sickest 100 times, as an example here. Now you have something that's probably pretty damn hellish. And that potentially could be COVID-19. See, that is an example of how directed evolution could give you something that's really, really deadly compared to something that was originally benign. Now, so now you have a little bit of background on sort of the difference of when gain of function is talked about and directed evolution is talked about. Now, we got to look at what's going on with this March of 2020 paper and what does it have to do with a paper that just came out 3 years later in March of 2023. So this is interesting. So we know that the FBI, the Department of Energy, and other departments with virologists, I don't know why virologists work at the Department of Energy or the FBI. I still haven't figured that out. But there's a reason you have these departments saying, yeah, it's looking, we've got some confidence that COVID came from a lab, right? The lab leak theory, right? And this is a concern because the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is known for this type of research, this gain of function, directed evolution style research, is described as China's first biohazard level 4 research facility. And the paper is very important that we're about to look at because it basically poo-poos the idea that COVID came from a lab. Now, the paper that basically poo-pooed the idea is this right here. This paper is called The Proximal Origin of COVID-19. Now, what's really interesting about this paper is that this paper ended up getting cited over 2,300 times in different mainstream media articles and videos. Now, that's a really big deal because that basically means the government put together this paper and then the media ran with it. And when the media runs with it, they're basically just perpetuating what this paper says without doing any more digging into it, right? Now, that's really important. And so what does this paper say? Well, specifically, it says the following. It is improbable that COVID-19 emerged through laboratory manipulation of coronaviruses. Genetic data irrefutably shows that SARS-CoV-19, whatever, is not derived from any previously used virus backbone. So they're basically trying to poo-poo the idea that this came from a lab, that this likely either came from an animal source or human-to-human transmission in sort of a natural way, right? This is the natural transmission argument. And it even ends by reiterating, since we observed all COVID known coronavirus features, including blah, 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 as it relates to coronaviruses in nature, we do not believe in any type of laboratory-based scenario. But wait a minute. Remember what I just described about directed evolution, where you kind of take a natural COVID and then maybe you infect monkeys 100 different times? Well, if you remember high school biology, this coronavirus that you directedly evoluted, boy, I probably butchered that, but whatever, is going to have some genetic markers that are similar to the ones from nature. You've just really accelerated that process 100x, and that's not natural, right? By taking the constantly taking the sickest monkey and infecting the next sickest monkey is not natural, because in nature, it's entirely possible that a stronger form of the virus would just end up dying out in nature naturally because it has some sort of weakness that wouldn't otherwise be exposed in a laboratory where you could actually preserve a virus that's not supposed to exist anymore. Okay, so you have this paper that the media runs with from March of 2020, promoting that no lab leak theory. Okay, so we have this. But what did we just get? Well, we just got a report from the Congressional Subcommittee on the Origins of the Coronavirus, and in their report, in their memo released on Friday, what did they say? Well, they said the following. They said that Fauci, who knew the National Institute of Health, had contributed funding to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This congressional report, or memo, says that the evidence available to the select subcommittee suggests that Fauci prompted the researchers to write the proximal origin paper. And the goal was disprove the lab leak theory. That's not good. Let me make that really clear what that means, okay? What that means is our government knew they funded the Wuhan Institute to some extent, right? So to some extent, our government knew they funded the Wuhan Institute of Virology, okay? Fauci was told this, and I believe it was around Jan 27, 2020. I don't know exactly which date in the 20s, but it was somewhere around here. So our government knew this. Then they decided in March of 2020, let's circulate a brief that disproves the lab leak theory, and then therefore the sort of implied conclusion, and I'm saying implied here, right, because we're guessing, but the implied conclusion here is our government would be really embarrassed if they had to take any blame for COVID. Much easier to blame China. Kind of interesting, right? So what is that? The rest of that congressional junk say? Well, first of all, they say that evidence available to Congress suggests that Fauci prompted this paper to disprove any lab leak theory. Now, notice it's not research to disprove the lab leak theory. It's a paper to disprove the lab leak theory. Now, it'd be one thing if it's like, hey, look, go to China and see if we can disprove the lab leak theory. And if we can't, then we can't, right? It's a paper, however, to disprove the lab leak theory. And then over here, you have, look at this. The goal of the proximal origin paper was to disprove a lab leak theory. Dr. Anderson had objectively weighed all the evidence available to him, and scientists must make conclusions available by all evidence, whatever. A lot of scientists quietly and privately, apparently on phone calls, stated, hey, like, what if it's a lab leak theory? But then according to emails, even Dr. Anderson stated, our main work over the last couple weeks has been focused on trying to disprove any type of lab leak theory. The email directly contradicts Scripps' earlier statement that Dr. Anderson objectively weighed all evidence related to COVID. Instead, it appears Anderson was given direction and sought to formulate a paper regardless of the available evidence that would disprove a lab leak. This is from Congress. So then you get a little bit of talk about how, well, here's some more quotes here. Dr. Farah led the drafting process and made at least one uncredited direct edit to the proximal origin. This individual is not credited as having any involvement in proximal origin. However, according to new evidence, he led the drafting process and in fact made several direct edits. Apparently, right before publication, emails reveal that Dr. Farah was thanked for editing the document. Thank you for shepherding this paper. Listen to this. Rumors of bioweaponeering are now circulating in China. Dr. Farah responds and says, confirming that he will be pressuring Nature, which is a publication for science, and will be pressuring Nature to publish this letter. I will push Nature. In addition to leading the drafting publication process, Dr. Farah made at least one direct edit to proximal origin. And here it is. Sorry to micromanage, micro-edit, but would you be willing to change one sentence from "it is unlikely COVID emerged from through laboratory manipulation" to "it is improbable that COVID emerged from a lab"? Look at this. So you have somebody who gets no credits in the writing of proximal origin, yet is making these media directives to make the media basically suck on the government's, you know what, to say, nope, lab leak is not true, lab leak is not true. You can Google this yourself. It pops up, it's the first search result, so you can find this yourself. If you just type into Google this. Select Subcommittee on Coronavirus Pandemic Members 3/5/2023. It's the first link right there, so you can see it yourself. Look at it yourself. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I gotta go to the course member live stream right now. Goodbye, see y'all next time, bye. Hey, thanks so much for watching and subscribing, as well as sharing the videos. In case you've enjoyed it, make sure to consider getting more perspective via the links down below in becoming a millionaire through real estate investing. It's one of our most popular courses, 0 to Millionaire Real Estate Investing. That is often bundled with the Stocks and Psychology of Money group or the Do-It-Yourself Property Management and Rental Renovations Guide. After that, you can also check out the Elite Hustlers, which has its own special exclusive live stream for people looking to make more money as an individual earner, or that is as an entrepreneur, or as an employee. And of course, check out the other programs specifically for agents or YouTube content creators.